Welcome back. This is part 3 of the chapter 2 video lecture on perception of ourselves and others. In the last two, we talked about the perception process, and then we talked about how we use perception to form identity or self-concept or self-esteem, things like that, and some of the things that influence that. Now we're going to talk about how the perception process applies to other people. So, as a lot of you talked about in your discussion boards, meeting other people creates anxiety. Many of you talked about wanting to eliminate that nervousness or at least reduce it so you'd seem more confident talking in front of other people. That's universal. Think about, a person you've never met. You know nothing about them. They are just a embodiment of endless information, and we don't like that. That level of uncertainty is very uncomfortable. So we try to reduce that anxiety using a process called uncertainty reduction. And uncertainty reduction theory explains how individuals monitor their social situations to learn more about themselves and others. So in other words, we look for information to help us better understand these new people as we encounter them. And reducing this uncertainty makes us feel more comfortable, which in turn makes us able to act in a more confident manner. So some common approaches to this that your brain just kind of uses without you knowing it, this is kind of the heuristics thing, are impressions and attributions. So the first type is impression formation. Impression formation says that when we meet someone, we unconsciously make assumptions or judgments on them based on their physical appearance. So someone who looks a certain way is likely to act a certain way or have certain qualities. Implicit personality theory, which says that certain personality traits go together. Someone who's kind is generous. Or assumed similarity, assuming that that person is like you. So let's think about it for a second. Have you ever assumed that like a pretty person was not as smart as someone who, say, was more homely? Or someone of a different race had different strengths or weaknesses, or that there were inherent differences in personality between women and men? Maybe someone said an unkind thing about, someone who said an unkind thing about a coworker, you automatically thought, man, she's such a meanie. I would normally use a different word, but this is a professional setting. Or that someone would act a certain way as well, so you do in that situation, right? So all of these have to do with forming impressions about people. So they generally have to do with characteristics, not actions. Attributions have to do more with actions. So they are explanations for behaviors, and there are two different kinds. Situational attribution says that a person acted or reacted in a certain way because of circumstances out of their control. In certain situations, you might think of it as making excuses for someone. Dispositional attribution says that a person acted or reacted a certain way because of their personality or something that was in their control. So they made a choice. So let's say that a friend is late. Situational attribution would be to say that they got stuck in traffic. It's not their fault. Dispositional attribution would be, man, she's always so scatterbrained. Just forgot about it, I guess. Situational says that it has to do with a situation that the person couldn't control. Dispositional says that it has to do with something that the person could control. And these are the different types of attributions that we make when we're trying to explain situations, primarily with new people, but we actually do it in relationships as well. So just like with ourselves, we can form inaccurate ideas of others based on perception. Just because we're not looking inward doesn't mean that we're not using the same simplification and selection techniques that we talked about in the first PowerPoint. I don't know what my computer is doing. Selective perception says that we pay attention to what we expect and ignore the unexpected. So if a person behaves in an expected way, well, that meets expectations. So we're more likely to pay attention to that and less likely to pay attention to something that contradicts that. This is seeing only the good things in a date, for instance. So you're on your first date and you don't notice that he chews with his mouth open or she chews with her mouth open, or the constantly looking at their phone. You're just like, oh, but so cute. You know, that kind of thing. That would be selective perception. It's also seeing only the bad things in someone you don't like. I can't go into an example and be nice here, but I'm sure we've all been there, you know, where you had this person in your head and you didn't like them, and so you concentrated on all the reasons you didn't like them rather than trying to see it from their perspective. That's also selective perception. Another type of inaccurate or distorted perception of others is forced consistency. So this is making your perceptions agree or making situations or people match expectations even when they don't. I would say that racism would be a pretty good example here, assuming that a person of a certain race acts a certain way and then only looking for things that confirm that expectation. I think my computer's about to die. Prejudice, yeah. Prejudice is kind of a more extreme form of that. It's judging a person based on characteristics of a group to which they belong. Prejudice is based on stereotypes, which are oversimplified generalizations of a group or its members, and this includes all the isms: racism, ableism, sexism, etc. Discrimination is acting based on prejudice. So prejudice is just internal, it's just the thoughts. Discrimination is when that turns into action. So how do we improve perceptual accuracy? Well, honest, ethical communication does rely on accurate assessments. We want to be as honest about what we're seeing in other people as we can be. And making judgments based on perception might affect thoughts and behavior to lead to communication differences, or worse, it could lead to those isms. So how do we improve it? Well, the first thing you want to do is question the accuracy of your perceptions. So think critically, is what I'm seeing accurate? And you can choose conscious processing to reduce bias. So instead of using the heuristics, the subconscious processing, where you're likely to rely on those attributions and impressions, switch it to the conscious mode and think about it. You know, think about what you're seeing and whether or not it's accurate. And then seek more information to verify the perceptions. Active listening is a really good way to do that, and we'll talk more about that later. And it's good to realize that your perceptions can and will change over time. And that's okay, that's growth. And then you can also seek clarification through perception checks. So describe what you see in a non-evaluative way and offer 2 potential interpretations and ask for feedback. So I noticed that you blank. I wasn't sure if it was because or A or because B. Can you tell me which it was? And then that way it doesn't seem judgmental. It seems like you're paying attention. You just needed a little bit more clarification or information. So to sum up, perception is the process by which the brain selects and organizes information. It prioritizes information based on needs, interests, or expectations, and organizes it based on simplicity and pattern. This in turn leads to interpretation. Perception is both conscious and subconscious, which is called dual processing. Self-perception, the 2 main types of self-perception that you need to be aware of are the self-concept and self-esteem. And remember, self-esteem is how we feel about our self-concept. And that it is affected by cultural norms. So certain cultures were more likely to value independent or interdependent self-perceptions. And we need a kind of a balance of both. Self-perception can be inaccurate due to self-fulfilling prophecies, message filtering in the media, and it's affected by self-talk, the social construction of the self, and self-monitoring. Our perception of others really starts with uncertainty reduction theory, which is that process by which we reduce anxiety through impression formation and attributions. It can be inaccurate. In particular, selective perception, forced consistency, and prejudice or discrimination are particularly problematic results of inaccurate perceptions of others. And most importantly, we can work to change how we perceive others. So that brings us to the end of this PowerPoint. I have got to go charge this before my computer dies. So I will see you guys very soon, and I look